And the book doesn't just call out the snake oil, it gives us the tools to spot it ourselves. Like, one of the key things the authors argue is this whole idea of AI being this cure-all, this magical solution.
Welcome to Book Haven.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive? Today we're tackling something that's everywhere, AI. But, not just the surface stuff. We're going deeper. We're talking about separating the genuine breakthroughs from the hype, the stuff that honestly sometimes feels like snake oil. So we're diving into AI Snake Oil, a book by Arvind, Narayanan, and Sayash Kapoor. You ever get that feeling? Like some AI products, they promise you the moon, but really,
Oh, yeah.
they're all marketing and no substance.
Totally. It's like they're trying to sell you a magical solution when the reality is much more complicated.
Exactly. This book, it calls that out.
Yeah.
It really digs into what AI can actually do,
Yeah.
and just as importantly, what it can't do. So are we really on the verge of robots taking over the world?
Right, like in the movies.
Yeah, like in the movies.
Yeah.
Or are those fears just a bit, overblown? That's what we're here to find out.
Well, I think what's so interesting about this book is how it uses that snake oil analogy. It's not about dismissing AI entirely. It's more about, being savvy.
Yeah, being a smarter consumer.
Yeah, exactly. We need to recognize when someone is trying to sell us a fantasy versus something that's actually grounded in reality.
And the book doesn't just call out the snake oil. It gives us the tools to spot it ourselves. Like, one of the key things the authors argue is this whole idea of AI being this cure-all, this magical solution for every problem is just not true.
Right. And they actually give some pretty compelling examples.
Oh, they have some great ones.
Do you remember the one about the tech company claiming their AI could predict school shootings?
Oh, yeah. That was wild.
Turns out it was no more accurate than just guessing based on a school's location and poverty level. It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It's mind-blowing. It's like those old-timey snake oil salesmen.
Totally. Promising these miracle cures that just don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. And the book points out a big part of this problem is how AI is often portrayed not just in the media, but even by some researchers. It creates this hype that leads to unrealistic expectations.
Absolutely. People start thinking AI can do anything, which just isn't the case. And that can lead to some really serious issues, like misplaced trust in systems that are far from perfect.
So how do we, as, non-experts, how do we navigate this complex world of AI? How do we make informed decisions about what to believe and what to be wary of?
Well, a good starting point, and the book really emphasizes this, is understanding that AI isn't just one thing. It's not this big monolithic entity.
Right.
It's actually made up of different types of AI, each with its own strengths and limitations. And AI Snake Oil breaks it down into three main categories: predictive, generative, and general AI.
Okay, so let's break down those categories. Starting with predictive AI, that one seems, the most straightforward. It's basically using data to predict what might happen in the future.
Right, exactly. Like when Netflix recommends a show you might like based on your watching history.
Yeah, exactly. Or when you get...
That's predictive AI at work. It's all about finding patterns in data and making informed guesses.
Okay, so that makes sense. But the book also makes a point of saying that these predictions are only as good as the data they're based on.
Oh, absolutely. That's crucial. If the data is flawed, incomplete, or biased, the predictions can be way off. Garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Right, that makes sense. So what about generative AI? That's the one that feels almost magical, like how it can create things.
Yeah.
Poems, images, even music.
Yeah, generative AI is definitely having its moment right now with tools like ChatGPT, DALL-E, those kinds of things. And it is pretty amazing. It can create some really impressive stuff. But we can't forget that these systems are essentially remixing existing information. They're not actually understanding the world or coming up with truly original ideas.
Right, so it's more like really sophisticated mimicry.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
And the book highlights how this can be a problem, especially when it comes to things like misinformation. Generative AI can be easily manipulated to produce misleading or harmful content.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge concern. And then there's general AI. This is the one that really captures the imagination. The idea of an AI that's as intelligent as a human, that can learn and adapt to any situation.
Like the robots we see in sci-fi movies.
Exactly. But the book makes a very clear point. General AI is still very much a theoretical concept. We are nowhere near achieving true general AI. And focusing on this distant goal can actually distract us from the real issues and potential harms of the AI we have today. It's like worrying about a robot uprising when there are much more immediate concerns to address.
Right, that's a good point. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of those more immediate concerns. The limitations and risks of the AI that's actually out in the world right now.
Okay, sounds good.
The book dives into this idea of the reproducibility crisis in AI research. It's a pretty alarming concept.
Yeah, it is. Basically, it means that in many cases, researchers are finding it difficult or even impossible to replicate the results of other AI studies, even some of the really groundbreaking ones. And that raises serious concerns about the reliability and validity of a lot of AI claims. AI snake oil actually cites a study that found only 11% of prominent AI papers could be successfully replicated. Only 11%.
Wow, that's pretty shocking.
Yeah, it is.
It's like building a house on a foundation that could just crumble at any moment.
Exactly. It really highlights the need for much greater transparency and rigor in AI research. We need to be able to trust that these studies are solid and that their findings can be verified.
Another issue the book brings up is data pollution, which honestly sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah, but unfortunately it's a real problem. It refers to the issue of biased, inaccurate, or incomplete data being used to train AI systems.
Okay, so what does that look like in practice?
Well, imagine an AI system that's being trained on a data set of news articles, right? But that data set contains a lot of biased or misleading information. Well, the AI, it's just going to absorb and perpetuate those biases in its outputs.
Oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And that could have some pretty serious consequences.
Right. It really underscores the importance of making sure that the data used to train AI is accurate, representative, and free from bias.
And that's something AI snake oil really emphasizes. The authors argue that we need to be much more critical of the data that feeds these AI systems because it directly impacts their outputs.
Right. We can't just assume the data is good. We need to scrutinize it. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, the book also dives into the ethical considerations surrounding AI. And one of the interesting things is that it cautions against knee-jerk reactions to regulate AI too heavily.
Really? I would have thought regulation would be a good thing,
Yeah.
to prevent potential harm.
Well, the authors make a good point. They argue that overly broad or restrictive regulations could actually stifle innovation and prevent the development of AI applications that could have real benefits.
That's interesting.
They actually point to the example of the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR.
Right.
While it was well-intentioned, some argue that it has had unintended consequences for small businesses and startups.
So it sounds like it's about finding that delicate balance.
Yeah.
Fostering innovation, but also protecting against potential harm.
Exactly. It's not an easy task.
Ugh.
And so, thinking about this balance, what steps can we take as a society to make sure AI is developed and used responsibly?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
The book really emphasizes a multi-pronged approach. First, we need much greater transparency from the tech companies developing AI. They need to be upfront about how their systems work, what data they're using, and any potential biases.
Yeah, no more black boxes.
Exactly. Second, we need to invest heavily in AI literacy and education. The more people understand about AI, the better equipped they'll be to critically evaluate AI claims and advocate for its responsible use.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up here, what are your final thoughts on AI snake oil and, the big picture of AI's future?
I think this book is a really important wake-up call. It reminds us that AI is not this magical solution to all our problems. It's a powerful tool, yes, but one that needs to be used thoughtfully and ethically. And ultimately, the future of AI depends on the choices we make today.
Absolutely. It's in our hands to make sure AI is used to benefit society and doesn't just become another form of snake oil.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation. And for all of you listening, we hope this is giving you some food for thought. Remember, when it comes to AI, stay critical, stay informed, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Yeah, exactly. Question everything.
And until next time, keep exploring the world with a discerning eye. See you all later.
Bye.
Grab AI Snake Oil by Arvind, Narayanan and Sayash Kapoor. Now on sale for just $16.95. Don't miss this chance to build good habits and achieve remarkable results. Click Buy Now today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.